Hello there. I'm going to be real with y'all. I feel like beefing today. I just got an email from Pinterest that they took down one of my pins again. For what reasons, I'll never know. And now I'm pissed off. You know what else pisses me off? Everything. Everything pisses me off. Truly, nothing at this point does not piss me off. So what outlet do I have? Ye old PowerPoint presentation. It seems like everyone these days are angry about something and quite terrifyingly being more and more radicalized by the moment. So what should I do is just add fuel to the fire. Make y'all angry about something you didn't know you should be angry about, or simply make you angry because you disagree with me. Disagreeing with people is now the only option at this point. You either 100% agree or disagree with someone. There is no in between. There is no middle ground. There is only the high ground. Anyway, these are the hills that I would die on. Do these matter in the slightest? No. Do I feel strongly enough to make a whole PowerPoint about them? You bet your sweet ass I do. All right, first up, golf. Golf is not a sport. Now, I know that all of the old white men watching this video, there are no old white men watching this video. Look, I know all of the old white men in the world just love golf so much, but I gotta be real, it's not a sport. Look, I might be a little uptight about what I do and do not consider to be sports, but golf, frankly, is not a sport. Golf is essentially just t-ball used by adults to misuse company finances. What do I mean by that? People are like, we're gonna go conduct business, and then they go to a country club that costs them like thousands of dollars in annual membership, write it off as a business expense, and then get day drunk and probably commit crimes, okay? I do not think that people enjoy golf. I think it's something that people think they should enjoy and no one actually likes it. I don't see how it's at all fun. Golf just uses like the least amount of physical exertion possible. If something is gonna be a sport, there should be like some sort of physical activity involved. Golfing is the opposite of that. Golfing is like, how do I move as little as possible, think as little as possible, and contribute to society as little as possible? Golf. Literally, all you do is you stand in one spot and you aim. You take your big old stick, you swing at a ball, and you aim for a hole. All right? Why these people are so obsessed with long shafts, balls, and holes, I will never know. You're not doing anything. It is at most like a swift twist. Getting the Swifties out there. Sure, there might be a little more to it. There might be like aiming and, wind direction to consider. But these people don't even walk in between the holes. Like, golf courses are huge. They take up so much resources and water to maintain. And these people just fucking drive around them because it's too much to walk fucking a few hundred yards in between your goddamn holes. What's the point then? It's just standing around with the occasional bend and snap. All right, they did more work in that nail salon in Legally Blonde than they do on golf courses. Now look, I am pretty rigid with the things that I do and do not consider to be sports. And look, even though none of these things are sports in and of themselves, or at least I don't think they are, they're more of a sport than golf. First up, bowling. I'm coming in hard for Wii Sports. But with bowling, at least like you have a weight, you have to do a walk up. Literally part of the sport is walking up. Okay, that's more than golf. You gotta aim, you gotta throw, this takes some level of like acrobatics and, core strength to fulfill. And then, of course, you do have like aiming. The balls themselves are quite weighted. Golf balls notoriously don't weigh anything. Bowling balls are real heavy. Ask any Looney Tunes characters, they'll knock you out. Horseback riding, every rich person's favorite sport. While I do fully realize that horseback riding is hard, you do use a lot of muscles in your thighs when you're gripping those big old ponies. The horses are doing most of the work here. You're basically just sitting on top. Don't say it. But look, the horses are doing most of the work. You can't say you're a professional athlete if your job is just to let someone else do the work, okay? What do you think you are? A coach? Horseback riding still takes a lot more skill than golf. Also, you are working with a multi-hundred to 1,000-pound animal, so this at least increases the danger level. Also, I'm not counting like horseback riding acrobatics. That shit's awesome. That is 100% a sport. Like, you can do a handstand on a horse. You're better than all of us. Next up, NASCAR or F1 or just general racing. Again, same thing as horseback riding. You are basically just sitting down. It's like golf, but without the movement. However, you are driving a gas-powered vehicle at, frankly, alarming speeds, doing very dangerous work, and apparently also, like, these drivers just lose like 10 pounds per race from either sweat or anxiety. This has a very high chance of death in it, and therefore I feel like it should at least get some level of, you know, like, sporting awarding. This is just an absurd amount of capitalism at play. You got the car manufacturers, and then they're just plastered with brands. Like, it's kind of embarrassing when it's like, what's your favorite sport? Cars. The movie. Life is a Highway is a fucking banger. I love that song. Next up, esports. All right, y'all are a bunch of nerds. I don't care. Esports, I don't think they're sports. However, I do realize that they are a competition between two teams. Look, the whole esports industry is insanely inflated. Quite frankly, it's not supporting itself. The amount of sports washing that shady ass countries are trying to do through esports to promote their public personas instead of, I don't know, fixing any human rights violations is a little concerning. But overall, this requires a lot more skill than golf, I think, and a lot more time and a lot more practice. This is just like a breeding ground for carpal tunnel syndrome, whereas with golf, like, the most risk you're at is being hit by like a middle-aged man who's day drunk in a golf cart. Don't drink and drive. That wasn't what I was trying to say. Drinking and driving is not something to joke about. They go at like maximum 15 miles an hour. No DUIs, kids. Competitive yoga. This shit's wild. This is far more muscle control and activation than anything in golf. How do people bend like that? I don't know. I'm brittle. I'm afraid I'm gonna snap at any point. I woke up one morning and my ankle hurt, and that was a month ago. It still hurts. I'm ready to be put down any day. Target shooting. I know people at the Olympics like the silly little people serving faces with this. I don't think it's a sport. Again, you're just standing and pointing and aiming. Now, this is like specifically the gun ones. Archery is definitely a sport. You do have to like pull back a bow and, you know, aim it. It does take a lot of muscle to be able to do that. The weird like cross-country skiing thing where you like shuffle around for like 2 miles, lay down on the ground, shoot something, get back up and keep skiing. That's wild. That's definitely a sport. This one, am I disproving my own point here? This might be less of a sport than golf. I've, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm saying it out loud, this might be less of a sport than golf. I'll say that. I'll stick with that. My next jackass argument, cookies are far better than cookie dough. I love cookies. I'll talk about them forever. However, the obsession that people have with cookie dough truly baffles me. Now, don't get me wrong. I love some cookie dough. Like, when you've got a tiny bit left in the bowl, I'll scoop it out and I'll eat it. I'll try it. I'll make sure it tastes good and go a little pre-meal snack, if you will. People who would rather choose cookie dough over cooked cookies, the fuck is wrong with you? Were you dropped on your head as a child? There is absolutely no scenario in the world where I would choose eating a bunch of raw cookie dough over an actual cookie. Like, it's not that good. You're just eating mush. Like, the only argument that I can hear from people is like, it takes too long to bake them. Fuck, it takes like 10 minutes. Chill the fuck out, all right? You can spend hours and hours scrolling endlessly, and you can't wait 10 minutes for some fucking nutrient-lacking food to cook in your little oven, all right? You can microwave that shit. It takes seconds. Just cook it somehow. This is the same school of thought that I have with like uncooked spaghetti. Is it kind of fun to eat a little bit of uncooked spaghetti? Yeah. Look, if I miss the pot and a little piece drops onto the floor, am I gonna pick it up and I'm gonna nibble on it like a little rat? Of course I am. It's crunchy and fun. However, would I want to eat an entire pound of uncooked spaghetti? No. Same thing with cookie dough. I'll have a little taste out of the bowl and then I'll wait for it to be done cooking for a far superior product. This is just sugar and butter. At that point, just embrace the Texas, take a stick of butter, shove it in some sugar, stick it in your mouth, all right? Go to the country fair. Up next, Achilles. Achilles, the golden boy of Greek mythology, liked at least one dude in his lifetime, okay? I hope we can all agree on that. This is literally the basis for the Iliad. Some people are like, no, it's a platonic relationship. Get your head out of your ass. This man was in love with another man and was so upset about him dying that he almost single-handedly ended a war before ending himself because he was so depressed about his boyfriend dying because of him, because of his hubris. He's gay. We love our drama. Now, look, homosexual relations were not uncommon in ancient Greece. Like, depending on the religion, depending on the time frame, a lot of the world was fine with people just fucking whoever, okay? It wasn't that big of a deal until some people decided that they were going to have a power trip and start telling people what they can and can't do. Religion. We love it. Look, I'm not the first person to think this. Of course I'm not. I'm not the first person to think anything. However, tons of other people know that Achilles is in fact gay. One of them being the good old Willie Shakes. In one of his less popular works, Troilus and Cressida, he was talking about ye old Trojan War. At one point, an angered man is quite frankly going off on Achilles and Patroclus about something. I don't know. I haven't read it. And he's like, hey, you and your slut, get out of here. And Achilles is like, that's you, my love. Good old Billiam knew what was up. Also in this same book, play, whatever, Achilles might have been in love with Polyxena. You can like multiple genders and still be gay. That's kind of the whole thing. Look, I know some big names don't necessarily support this theory, two of them being Homer and Socrates. I know, within the Iliad, Homer was writing about a platonic relationship. However, Homer might not have even been a real person. Probably just a pseudonym used for pulling together, thousands of years of works and writing them down. So again, if he's not even real, what does it matter? And for Socrates here, he's ugly. He was so ugly that they killed him. Also for other reasons, but get better opinions. Also, if you still disagree on this point, just answer me this. Why does he need to be straight? I'm not asking, philosophically, why must someone be straight and someone be gay? I'm saying, why is this a hill that you're willing to die on? Everyone else is straight. Achilles, also notoriously not that great of a person. He's kind of a jackass in every story that he's in. Just let us have this one thing, okay? It's not that much to ask. Also, quite frankly, if he's not gay, explain this picture. This is one of the most homosexual things I've ever seen in my life. You see this right here? That is the eye line directly onto his boyfriend's flaccid penis. All right, fellas, is it gay to check out your friend's unhardened dong while patching him up? Also, another question for you fellas. Is it gay to just spread your legs to have your dick and ball sack hanging out within inches of your buddy, who's also definitely not wearing underwear, while shyly looking away so that he can have full, uninterrupted view of your dong? This was an actual question. Please answer it. Also, I know we all love mythology over here, but just a quick reminder for you, it's not real. In all likelihood, these are fictional characters that never existed who we've just thrown stories onto. Like King Arthur. King Arthur isn't real. I had to genuinely explain to my parents quite recently that King Arthur was not in fact a real person. Mythology is not real. How angry do I want to make people? Most of like the lore of religions, whether they are current or, I don't know, no longer practicing, extinct, what do you call that? Colonized, destroyed religions, all of that mythology, it's not real. It didn't happen. If it sounds crazy, it's because it is crazy. People had a lot of time and they made up a lot of stories. Some of these stories are very good and we still talk about them today. However, probably not real. I hate to break it. I would love to be the one to break it to you, actually. I take that back. I love bursting people's bubbles. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We don't need to go in and start actualing people about things that aren't real, okay? Save your time and do something else useful. Get into a literal fist fight with someone instead. Don't do that. Next up, the Oxford comma. Now, I am not someone who is big on grammar. While I don't think it is like a 100% ride or die sort of situation in everyday usage, in like common conversation between people, grammar is in fact very important. The kids these days are illiterate, and it's all thanks to the TikTok. I'm just kidding. I'm not that old. Anyway, grammar is in fact important, and like it's dying by the minute. Now, the Oxford comma is where I draw the line. The Oxford comma is something that I feel so deeply about. What is it? It's the last comma before the conjunction in a list of things, okay? It needs to be there. I don't understand why you would not have it in there. I get that people were taught different things. It makes no logical sense to me why you would not have an Oxford comma in here. It makes things clear. It just does. If you say, I had toast, eggs, and orange juice, you're eating all three of these things. If you said, I had eggs, toast and orange juice, it links these two things while keeping this one separate. Commas are meant to separate ideas, and when you're specifically leaving things out, things get shady. This was the whole point of a legal dispute that happened in Maine in 2017. The case is called O'Connor versus the Oakhurst Dairy. Basically what happened is within a list of guidelines by the dairy for things that do and do not count as overtime, they did not properly use the Oxford comma, and because of that, the employees were able to sue them for like $5 to $10 million of unpaid overtime. This could have been solved by a simple comma. A missing comma cost this company $5 to $10 million. Also, apparently not paying their employees overtime. I don't know. I didn't look into it that much. I just did some quick Googling last night. Now, I get that the Oxford comma is optional. You don't need it. It is not a life or death situation. However, if you do not use it, I will think less of you as a human being. Put it in there! Put the goddamn commas in there where they belong. Put them in their place. Going off of that, Cats the Musical! Look, Cats the Musical, quite frankly, was not that bad. I'm talking about the movie that came out in 2019. Yes, that one. I quite frankly just think y'all were dogpiling on it because it was a popular thing to do. Now, let me be clear, okay? This movie was not great. Also, just like the humanoid cat CGI that was going on was terrifying. I had to look up a clip for this the other day, and oh my god, the CGI was worse than I remembered. The fact that they gave Taylor Swift cat titties and also high heels for some reason haunts me every single day of my life. However, the movie in general, really not that bad. I truly, to my core, believe that Cats the Musical has been like a well-known secret within the theater community that was just never supposed to be released to the general public. Cats was just a mystery to most people. They knew of the prestige, but they didn't know the details. And to everyone who has known about or been in or seen Cats the Musical, knew how fucking wild it is. I do think making this movie into a musical was a mistake by capitalist hungry studios, which led to their own downfall. Also, the music in it is pretty great. The score is done by Andrew Lloyd Webber. He did Phantom of the Opera, which is a fucking banger, by the way. Like, the music in this movie is good. The singing's great. I don't think there's any denying that. Is it wild? Yes. But is it quality? Yes. Also, this movie, like, it was at least entertaining. This movie gave us all something when we needed it most, right? Like, seeing this absolute shitstorm brought me back to life. The same cannot be said for so many movies that I've seen. There are tons of like Oscar-nominated movies, Oscar-winning movies that I've seen that I like less than Cats. Some movies are so convoluted that you can't even follow them and they're not even fun to watch. I'm looking at you, A24, or just so goddamn boring that like, I don't want to spend 3 hours of my life on this, all right? I could be doing so many other things. Cats, it kept you on your toes. It kept you feline ready. If I were to name like the top 10 worst movies I've ever seen in my life, if I were to name the top 10 movies I've seen within the past few years, this would not even crack the list. Like, I've watched some shit movies. Like 90% of the stuff made directly for streaming these days is worse than Cats the musical. Also, look, I've said it before, I'll say it again, Jennifer Hudson absolutely fucking killed it. Oh my God. Hearing her sing Memories, she poured her heart and soul into that. She is incredible. That song is great. She deserves so much praise for that. It is a wonderful song and she killed it. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that this movie was such a flop is objectively hilarious. Like, we can all say things about, you know, shitty movies, liking them ironically, liking them for how bad they are, but like, we all enjoyed this. It's so funny to think about how they got, you know, 10 to 20 A-list actors to put on motion capture suits, run around on the ground like little cats, promote the shit out of this movie, only for it to backfire on them completely and then them never talk about it again. It brings my heart so much joy. Now, speaking of CGI cats, Disney is high on their own supply of just printing money, and they are turning everything you know and love into a live action movie. They've done it for Cinderella, they've done it for Mulan, they're doing it currently for Snow White. That's going well for them. They did it for Little Mermaid, and they also tried to do it for Lion King, a movie that notoriously has no people in it. And they had the nerve to call this movie a live action movie. It is not, in fact, a live action movie. This is not a real lion child that had to obey child labor laws. This is simply little bits on a computer screen. There is a stark difference between hyper-realistic CGI and live action. CGI and live action are not the same thing. All right, those dragons in Game of Thrones, those are not real dragons. They're CGI. Jacob in Twilight was just the guy whose name I can't remember in a motion capture suit. He was not an actual wolf. They did not have an actual wolf for that movie. I'm not the only person to think this. You can look up like tons of articles about how this is not, in fact, a live action movie. To bring that point home, literally only one shot in the entire movie was real. That's not me coming up with that. That's Jon Favreau saying only one shot in the movie was actually filmed. It is the sunrise in the beginning. They started off strong and then they threw it out the window. You cannot say a movie with, I don't know, a 5-second clip in a 2.5-hour runtime is a live action movie. That's like saying SpongeBob is a live action show because it had the scene of Nosferatu in the hash singing slasher episode for like, I don't know, half a second. They had that one shot and that was it. They called it Dunyan Rings. They said, that's good enough. Get to the money printing machine. We're gonna steal the lives of these children by taking their time from them. It's not a live action movie. It's not. Oh, hi, Mark. Now, to switch up the gears a little bit, if you wear sandals on a bike, I hate you. This should not be done ever. This is atrocious. My least favorite thing about summer is having to see the grown adult men riding down the street wearing flip-flops while on a bike. Ah! Quite frankly, why? Why? Why do you do that? Unless you are actively going to or from the beach, the pool, the river, the lake, what have you, get better shoes. I don't understand why you would wear these shoes for a foot-powered vehicle. You need more safety regulations for mixing like water and salt in high school chemistry class than for riding a bike. That doesn't seem right. I can't help but think that anytime someone wears a bike, when they turn this pedal down, this little front part of the flip-flop is gonna hit the ground and it's gonna get caught and it's gonna flip the whole bike over, okay? That's just how my brain works. It's going to happen eventually. I'm gonna see it. It's not gonna happen to me because I would never wear sandals on a bike, but like it's gonna happen to someone. Wear your helmets, people. Also, like, it makes your feet dirtier. I feel like so much dirt gets on your little feet. It makes them dirtier. I want your feet to be clean. I don't want to see your feet at all. In fact, just cover your feet up. There's no scenario in which I want to see your feet. Put the dogs away. Look, I am just a ride or die, socks and sandals kind of person. Have socks on all the time. It keeps your feet safe. It keeps your shoes safe. Then I don't have to see your feet. Anyway, now going off of that, on a little bit of a more serious note, dog shows are just socially acceptable forms of eugenics competitions. Look, I do not say this lightly. Eugenics is not something to joke about, but like that's the only word that I can put to use here. It's between this and like quote unquote face reading trends. They're just eugenics. If you want to watch a great video about this, Abby Cox has one where she basically talks about, what is it called, like phrenology? Basically just talks about the insanely racist implications that face reading has. And I think it also applies to this, not the racism part, but like the weird eugenics that people subscribe to indirectly. It promotes a lot of harmful thinking. According to the American Kennel Club, aka the dog show people, dog shows are intended to evaluate breeding stock. The dog's conformation, aka the overall appearance and structure, is an indication of the dog's ability to produce quality puppies. The whole point of dog shows is to sell puppies for money. That's it. You think they're cute, you like watching these dogs parade around. It's so these people can make their dogs fuck and then sell the offspring for financial profits. That's pretty much it. A lot worse than you thought, right? This whole thing is to test like the quote unquote purity of a breed. It's to see how well a physical specimen these animals like meet to comply with the breed standard, with how they're supposed to look. Does it matter if your dog has like slightly broader shoulders or like, I don't know, a centimeter longer or shorter tail? No, it doesn't. They're your dog. You love them regardless. However, if you're a judge, you can say this dog is physically impure and is therefore worth less in the eyes of myself and the AKC gods. Also, within dog shows and the pure breeding dog community, there is just an absurd amount of inbreeding and low genetic diversity. While the AKC claims on their website that like, you know, having a purebred dog shows like no signs of, disease or anything from having low genetic diversity, aka inbreeding, I quite frankly don't believe that. There's no fucking way that that takes place. These dogs are so inbred that their like skulls are getting squished. They look like fucked up abominations of the wolves that they once were. You know, dash hounds, how they got their long little bodies and tiny little legs? They have like severe spinal problems because they can't support their own weight. I think like 80% of French bulldogs cannot give birth. They have to have C-sections because their skulls are so massive for their tiny little bodies that like giving live birth to puppies would just kill the mother. Like, this is so fucked up. We've done this. We people as a species have done this to the dogs. They don't deserve it. We fucked up, and we do not need to be promoting this sort of idealism anymore. Also, these standards just glamorize harmful qualities within these breeds, and it's also like purely for aesthetic reasons. You ever seen a French bulldog whose face is so flat that it can't breathe? People did that. People looked at a dog and they're like, wow, I wish this dog was constantly miserable. And then they selectively breeded that dog to not be able to breathe. And then they're like, oh, look how cute it is. Don't we love it? And then the people who are breeding them for dog shows basically just go in and they're like, we need to make the nose stubbier and we need to make its breathing harder. Why? So I can get $500 at the local dog show to get them a fucking pedigree or whatever so I can sell their puppies. Like, I know these people love their dogs, but like, it doesn't seem like you do, you know? It's like the parents that promote toxic traits for their kids. Like, yeah, theoretically you like your kids, but it's not coming through. The actions you are taking and the values you supposedly have aren't adding up. Also, you know how a lot of dogs have like those teeny tiny little tails where you can just see their assholes hanging out the whole time, or they have pointy ears? A lot of those aren't natural. Those are people specifically cutting into dogs' ears and sewing them back together so they can like sit up straight, or just simply cutting off the tails. Historically, I'm sure that there's some, you know, purpose of it so that the tails don't get caught up in things while hunting and such. But in the modern day, there's no reason why we have to see these dogs' assholes all the time. And also, like, why would you cut off your dog's tail? Why? Why? It's purely for looks. You should not be able to amputate limbs off of your pets or children for aesthetic purposes. Like, that's enough reason to call Child Protective Services. On a lighter note, there is truly no logical explanation for this sort of haircut. Why is this the standard? Why must we have, you know, like upper elbow showing and full ass showing, minus the ankles and minus like the top hip joints showing, and also hair up? What about this does not scream, I get off on public humiliation? Like, it baffles me. What, like, why are their feet shaved too? It don't make sense. It does not make sense. Now, all of that being said, Best in Show, great movie. It's a comedy from the 2000s starring Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara and a shit ton of other celebrities, and it's so good and also extremely accurate to dog show people. This movie would be like a peak comedy today, and it's 25 years old at this point. Highly recommend it. It's so much fun.
She knows she's a winner, and look at her handler. That is one happy fella.
Actually, a woman.
How much weight do you think I could bench press? Just make a guess, ballpark figure.
You've grown.
I'm growing right now, girl. Just looking at you. That is the one and only time I've ever done it on a roller coaster.
On a lighter note, all fruit is disgusting. It is. Look, I understand that, like, objectively, I am in the minority on this one. All of you here are going to think I'm wrong about this. However, I don't care. This is my slideshow. You should be used to this by now. Why do I think all fruit is gross? Well, first of all, it doesn't taste good. No fruit tastes good. Look, I don't like any of the flavors. Truly, none of them taste good to me. That's, like, the whole point of food, and none of them are checking that box. Next up, they got weird textures. The range of fruit textures, depending on the variety and also the ripeness of the specific piece, ranges from not great to horrendous in my book. I feel like the best you can get is like a nice, firm, crisp apple, and even then, that's like biting into a raw potato. And then on the worst end, you have something that it will either explode in your mouth or just be complete mush. Disgusting. Fruit also, do wet, be drier. I hate the fact that fruit is so juicy. When people eat peaches, it's like they're fucking drinking through a straw. There's no reason for you to like bite into something and then immediately go like a soup dumpling. Oh my God, nothing grosses me out more than the fact that when you make a fruit salad like this, you cut up this supposedly somewhat dry fruit, you put it in a bowl, 10 minutes later, it's fucking swimming in a bath. Where did all of the juice come from? It's now touching everything else. Everything is mixing together. It's, I don't like it. Watching people eat fruit salad is horrendous, and it actively ruins my day. You know what else it actively ruins? Any dessert it's in. I think that if you're gonna eat fruit, that's fine, but keep it out of the food that you're gonna give me, all right? Dessert should be, you know, chocolates or sweets of some kind. It doesn't need to be fruit. If you hand me a piece of cake and there is fruit in it, I'm gonna freak out. I will like be polite about it, but I'm not gonna like it. I will simply just say, I'm full and I'm not gonna eat it. I'm not gonna do it. Look, I know I'm being picky. I don't wanna eat it. Also, like, this doesn't have anything to do with the fruits specifically, but people are just like very weirdly sexual about fruits. People are weirdly sexual about a lot of things. Fruits, I feel like most of all. The phallic and yonic symbolism of fruits is just insane. I don't want to look at your melons. I don't want to look at your bananas, okay? Appendage-wise or fruit-wise. I don't like any of them. Get them away from me.
You offer me gold and silver when all I desire are grapes, fed to me by the slender fingers of a teenaged, horse-penised boy like this one.
Also, get your mind out of the fucking gutter. It's a piece of food. Oh my God. Now, lastly, Sam the Onion Man here. Beautiful Dule Hill from the movie Holes, based on the book Holes. He is the best male love interest that there has ever or will ever be. No one in my mind could beat Sam the Onion Man. Now, if you've seen Holes, I truly believe that there is no further explanation needed for this point. You should know. If you haven't seen Holes, go watch the movie. It's quite entertaining. It's about the prison industrial system, but with children and treasure. Sam the Onion Man here is just the best. He's in love with a woman, and because racism exists, they can't be together. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but his sweetheart goes on a murder rampage and turns into Kissin' Kate Barlow the outlaw, and she's so goddamn cool. Anyway, this isn't about her. I love Sam the Onion Man. That's it. That's all I want to say. If you think that there is a man better than Sam the Onion Man, I fucking dare you to try me. No one can live up to the standards that this man has set. Okay? I'm going to prove it to you. We're going to find any man who's better than Sam the Onion Man. Now, according to Huffington Post, these are the 21 best movie boyfriends in romantic comedy history. Do any of them stand up to Sam? First off, the guy in Princess Diaries. I didn't remember that his name was Michael. He was fine. He was also just like a teenage boy. Doesn't beat Sam. Next up, Wesley from Princess Bride. Okay, I didn't consider that. Wesley, I think, is great. Does he stalk her? I don't think he does. You know what? I do think Wesley is one of the few people that could stand up to Sam the Onion Man. However, he definitely does not beat Sam the Onion Man. Still a great guy. I do like his character. He fights for his love. Sam has a donkey too. Did I mention that? It's very cute. Her name's Mary Lou. Anyway, I'll give you that. Wesley's pretty good. Not better than Sam, but pretty good. The guy in Pretty Woman. No, he hires a sex worker, and because he is a rich white man, there's no way he will face any legal repercussions, and all of them would be thrown onto the woman instead. I don't like him. Mr. Darcy. Good old Tom Wamsgans. I feel like whenever people talk about romantic movies, romantic books, they always bring up Mr. Darcy. I have never seen nor read Pride or Prejudice. I was going to watch it last night, but then I watched Fight Club instead. Fight Club, pretty okay. For an older movie, I usually expect there to be some sort of rogue slurs thrown in there or wildly uncool takes. Surprisingly, weren't any. I think Bottoms was a better version of Fight Club, but Fight Club, still not bad. Anyway, Mr. Darcy, I don't care about you. Isn't he also like notoriously an asshole in it? Isn't that the whole thing? Anyway. Mark Ruffalo in 13 Going on 30. Was he a great man, or was he just simply not a complete jackass? I'm inclined to lean towards not a complete jackass. I don't think that should be a reason for praise. I think that should be like the bare minimum. Patrick, Heath Ledger in 10 Things I Hate About You. I absolutely love this movie. It is a classic. It is so good. The whole point of this movie is Patrick is paid to dupe Kat into falling in love with him so that some jackass can take out her sister who he wants to fuck. The man cons her almost the entire movie. They do fall in love, but again, he conned her for like half of the movie. Not a good place to start. Sam would never do that. Paul Rudd in Clueless. That's her stepbrother. I don't like this movie. It's a romance between step-siblings. We've already gone over how I don't like incest. Henry Golding in Crazy Rich Asians. Was he a good romantic interest, or is he simply just attractive and also not a jackass? I think the second. he didn't really do anything. The movie was not about him. The movie was about Michelle Yeoh fucking killing it and Constance Wu fucking killing it. All right, he was simply there for a plot device. Mark Darcy from Bridget Jones's Diary. That's the same Darcy. You cannot have the same character on here twice in multiple iterations. The same guy. Come on, think of any other man. Number 1 on their list, Jesus fucking Christ. Peter Kavinsky from To All the Boys I Loved Before. We can do better than this, y'all. I have seen this movie. I liked it. I watched it a second time. I liked it a little bit less. Simply just a white guy. The point of this movie is he's trying to trick a girl into falling in love with him, and it's not even the girl he falls in love with, all right? He is like subpar at best. All right, so you know what? Sam the Onion Man still reigns strong in my book. The only people who I think could come even close are, like we mentioned, Wesley from Princess Bride. I also think Will Turner from the Pirates franchise should also be in there. Dude, he just fucking loves Keira Knightley. And they're both really hot. So I think that's great. However, Sam, still better than either of them, as there has not been anyone able to de-seat him in the throne of Peak Man. I rest my case. Now, as I mentioned, I have a lot of opinions. These are all the hills that I would die on. However, I have a lot of less severe opinions that I feel strongly about. However, I would not be willing to die for them. First up, Game of Thrones. I love Game of Thrones. The books are fucking rad. The show is fucking rad. While the finale was not great, I really don't think it was that bad. The ideas were there. The execution was done poorly. It was rushed. I do think it's insane that like one of the biggest shows in the history of the world disappeared without a trace because of how much people disliked it. I thought it was fine. Like, it wasn't good, but it wasn't that bad. This shot was awesome. Dany deserved a lot better. I didn't like the romance between her and Jon. Quite frankly, I love Sophie Turner more than life itself. I have been a Sansa fan since I started watching the show in 2014, 2013. She got the praise and respect that she deserves, and that's all I can ask for. Also, Ghost. Ghost deserved to be in that show more. Give me more of the fucking dog, please. Anyway, going off of that, Khal Drogo and Jaime Lannister suck. This is a hill that I am willing to die on, but I think it's either you agree with me or you don't. There's no argument in my eyes. It's just, I'm right, you're wrong, we're moving on. Why do I not like these men? Both of them assaulted their respective partners. That's it. That is a one and done situation. There's no coming back from that. That happened. I no longer like their characters. If anything, Brienne deserves better than this. Next up, Avengers Endgame. Not a good movie. I didn't like it. I have also been a diehard Marvel fan for half of my life. This movie was not good, and it pretty much single-handedly killed my interest in Marvel as a franchise. Still like the comics, still like the characters, the movies, the TV shows, I do not care anymore. This movie, far too long. It was extremely overhyped. You could already tell what was going to happen in it because these two actors, their contracts were up. Everyone knew that. The fact that Disney re-released this movie, 3 months after it came out to try to beat the box office record is embarrassing, quite frankly. Captain Marvel wasn't in it. She's the strongest one there. And there were so many movies leading up to it that they just couldn't schedule her in. So they're like, we'll have her show up for 2 seconds, leave, show up for 2 seconds again, leave again. Just focus on a fucking plot, please, my God. If you're gonna have 500 characters, at least include the important ones. Thor, they finally, oh my God. Infinity War was so goddamn good. They finally gave Thor an adequate power level for him being a literal god. And then what did they do in the next movie? Because he was so overpowered, they played his PTSD off for shits and giggles and fat jokes that, again, this movie came out in 2019. So not cool. And they just had him sit around and do nothing. Why? Because someone always has to sit around and do nothing. They did the same thing in Infinity War for Bruce. They're just designated him as the comic relief character. You can have funny bits without there being the designated haha, let's shit on him guy. Just work in comedy a better way. They did Nat so dirty. She did not deserve to go out like that. Within the first 30 minutes of this movie, Natasha, Black Widow, made a peanut butter sandwich. The rest of the 2.5-hour runtime, I sat in that theater wishing I was at home eating a peanut butter sandwich instead of sitting there watching this movie. I don't want to think about this movie anymore. It's taken up far too much of my life already. Next up, Nickelback. I think they're a good band. I don't really listen to music. I get that they're like the funny band to shit on, haha. I know this is a meme. That's funny as hell. However, they do have some good music. Burn It to the Ground is a banger. Photograph is pretty good. The memes are funny. What's that other one? This is how, what is it called? You Remind Me? This is how, what is that song called? That's a banger. I like that song. I like their songs. They make good songs. Also, lead guy looks like Troy Baker. Also, kind of thought he was Troy Baker. Not gonna lie. I don't know a lot about music. Next up, all of these extra milkshakes and donuts that were viral in like the early 2010s actively upset me. I do not understand how you're supposed to eat these. This is just wasting food for internet clout. There's no reason why someone would need to have a milkshake and a piece of cake and multiple lollipops in one sitting. I truly don't think that anyone who ever bought these ate the entire thing. I don't think the milkshakes were any good. They're probably fucking watery, milky as hell. The donuts are definitely not good. I have very strict thoughts about donuts. Truly, the best donuts you can get are ones that are like, you know, $1.50 at any shitty rundown donut shop. Okay, those are the best ones. I don't need an $8 donut covered in fucking stale ass cereal that you can take pictures of. It's not gonna taste good. I can go to any grocery store right now and get like a 2-day-old donut that's just been sitting out, and it will be far better than this will ever be. Going off of that, drinking milk is fucking weird. I truly cannot wrap my head around how, as children in the American public education system, we are forced to eat like cheeseburgers and chocolate milk at 11 a.m. every single day. If you're an adult and you're drinking milk, why? That's just cow titty juice. Yesterday, I was on a walk and I saw a man driving home drinking milk from a carton while driving. I can't explain that. I have been thinking about him nonstop. What is wrong with him? Anyway, the milk industry is fucking wild. They've got some like propaganda shit going on with all of that. We don't need to got milk. This is so disgusting. This probably smells. Oh, I hate it. Oh my God. Now, going off of my hatred of both milk and fruit, all of the fruit milks you see come out of like specifically South Korea, those sound disgusting. Now, one that upsets me more than the rest is banana milk. I can get behind chocolate milk. That's basically cold hot chocolate. It's fine. It's worse than hot chocolate. Milkshakes, again, should mostly be ice cream, but there is still some milk in there. It's fine, but that's a dessert. Strawberry milk, I don't like it. Banana milk actively makes me want to throw up. I don't understand anyone who would see a banana and they're like, you know what? This needs to have a white liquid coming out. Remember how I said people were weirdly sexual about fruits? Like, I know I'm doing what I'm talking about, but like, this is so fucking weird. Like, why would you want banana milk? All right, lastly, I'm getting upset. All right, if you wear just plain old socks outside, I question your intelligence. If you're going to walk around outside, put some shoes on. If you want to be like a carefree little sprite, take your shoes off. Don't just walk around with your fucking socks. Either cover your feet with shoes or just fucking raw dog your bare ass feet like a hobbit, okay? There's no reason for you to be wearing just socks. They're gonna get wet, they're gonna get dirty. You're ruining things that you paid for. I don't like it. Also, you should not have your bare feet outside. Wear shoes. That's what I'm getting at. The hierarchy goes shoes, and then at the ground level is bare feet, and then in hell below that is people who wear socks outside. That's just how it is. All right, I'm getting upset. I have spent the last hour working myself into a tizzy, and now I'm more upset. Pinterest, Why do you keep deleting my pins? I want to know why, and also I want to at least know what the pins are. Why won't you tell me what they are? Only some of them are porn. All of those are at least funny, okay? All right, I'm gonna go. I don't know how to end this. I'm so surprised that I haven't hit myself in the head with this. One time in PE in middle school, I was swinging around a golf club like this during a little golf unit that's not a sport, and I did hit myself in the head with it. My PE teacher saw and laughed at me. That's your bit of personal information you get today. Okay, bye. Ah! Shout out to my cookbooks for being thick as hell. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do. I still don't like Indiana Jones. If you're gonna eat sugar and butter, at least like take out the flour and the eggs, okay? Just raw dog it like the rest. Ding dong, here's God. This is how I hit myself in the head.